All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay, and this is 72 hours with the a little over 72, but it's probably 72 hours with the Sony Xperia 10. Now, this phone right here has been one of my daily drivers since I got it, and I've been absolutely impressed with it. There are a few downsides that I've found comparing it to other phones in the same price range, or a little bit less or a little bit more. But overall, this has been just a solid experience. So I want to start with what is the most apparent on here is the screen. The screen is absolutely beautiful. Some people are offended by the top area. That doesn't bother me at all, that it has a small bezel at the bottom and a big one at the top. I'm not affected by that. I think the new aspect ratio really does wonders for this phone because it makes it super easy to hold and super easy to deal with. So the screen is absolutely beautiful. I think what I want to do is I want to fire up a HDR10 video and get this thing rolling that way. Let's see here, HDR 4K 60 FPS. Just gonna grab something, just a video here. Let's get something that's kind of vivid. Now this obviously is not a it's not a 1080p. It's not a 4K display, but I want to get the gist of the HDR and see how it plays this type of footage. You get some sense of how beautiful this screen could possibly be. Now this is an LCD display, but it still renders this HDR video beautifully. It's only playing it at 1080p at 60 FPS, but over camera you probably can't tell as good, but it absolutely is beautiful to watch content on this display because of that new aspect ratio 21:9. Some people are a little thrown off by it already. Some people are saying, nah, I'm not feeling it, but reality check is, oh man, that's beautiful. Reality check is this is probably where we're going with phones. We might be headed, we might start seeing way more OEMs do, a lot more OEMs do 21:9. And I'm actually used to it now. If you were to pick up this phone, or if you have this phone, I got used to it in a matter of the first day, because I'm comparing it to phones that are wider, you know what I'm saying? They are much wider, but still have kind of the same size display. And it's easy to get used to this, even though you think you won't probably, and you think you might be thrown off by it. This display is absolutely gorgeous, man, and it's easy to get used to as far as watching content on it and holding the phone itself too. Just the overall media consumption experience is what I'm trying to get out, is that it's good, and that's no getting around that. So display is 6 inches, 1080 by 2520, and it's good. I like it a lot. I don't have any complaints about it, and it's working for me. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of on the not so great side, is the Snapdragon 630. Now this is my first experience with the actual 630. I've got the 636, the 632. This is my first 630 experience. It's not that it's on the downside, it's just not as buttery smooth. Now you're probably thinking, man, Jay, that thing is flying. But when the load is on, when it gets heavy, this processor doesn't feel sluggish. It just doesn't feel as fast when I put it next to something with a Snapdragon 632. The 632 performs a lot better in my experience than the 630, but that's just my experience. We all load different apps, but I have pretty much the same apps on all my phones. So I'm impressed with the 630. In the Snapdragon 630 for day-to-day tasks, it doesn't feel as snappy as some other phones, but other than that, that's kind of a pro and a con, if you will. But it still flows. There's been no crashes, no stutters, nothing like that. But it just doesn't feel as snappy as I thought it was going to feel. Because the 600 series processors, they're great, folks. Don't sleep on them, man. Don't think that the 855s and the 845s and the 800 series is just the snappiest processors of them all. But the 600 series has great processors, and the 630 is another one. So with that being said, the processing power behind this thing is actually pretty decent. I don't do any heavy gaming or anything like that. I just do light gaming, but I don't have any problems with it for that matter. You know what I'm saying? So that's good. It also helps out with battery too, because this phone has a 2,870 milliamp hour battery, and I'm averaging about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time. Closer to 6 though, closer to 6. Sometimes I've hit high, almost 7. but I definitely hit over 6 pretty much all the time. So that's something that I think you'll enjoy if you decide to pick up this phone. You don't have to worry about battery life. At least I don't have to worry about battery life. It'll make it through a full day, and you'll get on the low side at least 5 hours of screen on time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Now, I took the cameras outside on a night shoot. And folks, when I tell you, I'm going to put this footage up. When I tell you I was impressed at what I saw, my partner had, I'm going to put him on blast, but he was using an iPhone, and the night footage was horrible. It was dark. You couldn't see anything. I whipped out this phone, and I started taking the photos. Needless to say, I had to send him every photo that I took because his was not good. It just wouldn't come out, man. This phone right here does stupendous in low light. And remember, I did a review on my other Sony phone, the Xperia XA Ultra. That phone did good in low light. So Sony has mastered the low light thing, in my opinion. It does great. We did some photos of the cars and stuff like that. So anyway, I'll just put this you're probably looking at the footage now. The footage that I think is coming from this phone is absolutely great, especially in low light. And that's just what it is. I think these cameras are really good. It records in 21:9, so I really like that. But I just like these cameras, man. I think they do very well, and Sony has done a good job. I've been really impressed with the cameras for sure. Now, the phone has the single bottom firing speaker, and it's been really solid. It's not the loudest speaker, but it's not something that you'll be able to use it. But in a loud setting, yeah, you're gonna have to put the headphones in because this has a headphone jack, which is important because phones today don't come with headphone jacks. And if you see a phone with a headphone jack, you need to rejoice. This is one that has a headphone jack, and I think it's important. And I don't believe this has a high-powered DAC or anything like that. Let me see. It's got 24-bit audio. But I did plug in my new headphones by one more, and it was so much bass, man. It's crazy how beautiful it sounded. It was just amazing, man. It sounds really, really good, and I'm super excited. Now, another flip side on the downside about this phone is, if you're wondering why the power button is up here and the fingerprint reader is here, well, that has something to do with the patents for the US by having a fingerprint reader in the power button. So that is why they separated that. So you can fact check that with Sony. You'll find the same thing. But the fingerprint reader is what I want to talk about. It's not fast, but it's not slow. Does that make sense? It's good. It'll work. I kind of just rest my finger on that. It works. It's just not as fast as I want it to be. And also, the fingerprint reader is on one side of the phone, and so left-handed people, if you're a serious left-handed person, you're gonna have some trouble with this phone. You know what I'm saying? You might want to use the facial recognition because it does have facial recognition. Let's see if I can do it from behind the camera. Yeah, there we go. So you can see I just did it. You go into the settings, and you go into trusted devices. You've seen it before. It's under security and trusted devices. All Android phones should have that feature, but some Android devices is taken out. So keep that in mind. But folks, overall, man, I just haven't had any issues with this phone. I had a few dislikes or downs. I call them downsides. I pointed them out to you in this video. But overall, man, I really enjoy this phone right here, son. It's a really nice phone. The hardware is absolutely great. It's better than what you think. So if you're ready for the Xperia 1 like I am, this phone is the phone that's getting me there, because the 21:9 aspect ratio was something that I was really excited about. And now that I have it, I'm even more excited because I know exactly what I'm getting into when I get the bigger phone. And again, I said in another video, I just didn't want two of the same phone pretty much as far as height goes. This phone is 6 inches for the screen. It's got a little bit extra on the top. And then the Xperia 1 is 6.5, but it has a level top and bottom. But the Xperia 10 Plus is built like this, and it's the same size as the Xperia 1. So, with that being said, the phone is doing fantastic, man. I really like it. Oh, another thing that I don't like, I pointed it out in the unboxing video, is this right here. This is super flimsy, and the SIM tray holder. Every time you pull this out, the phone reboots, and that's a Sony thing. That's a Sony thing. That's a Sony thing. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that I can't just hot swap my SIM cards. I got to reboot it and everything once I take it out. So I guess it's a security measure, but still, it's a nice look to have that security in place. But I swap my SIM cards a lot, and it's a little annoying. Now, as far as the power button and placement and everything, it's perfectly fine for a right-handed person. It's feeling really good. Now, one thing I want to point out, Sony has this thing in here, and then I'm gonna get out of here. This isn't something that I'm gonna use, but it's under display, and you go to advanced, and you go all the way down to the bottom right here, and you go to side sense. Now, this is what it is. You turn it on, and then you can double tap the side here, and it has a small menu. So you double tap right there, and this menu comes up. And it's like it's like using a shortcut to the apps that you use and something like that. So you can go to more apps, and then you can get all like this. This is hot. However, I don't find myself using it as much as I thought I would, so I just turned it off. You basically can get all your apps. I mean, every app, as you can see, right here on the side. And it's just a click away if you're gonna do. It's like they made this for one-handed people or something like that. I don't know what it is. It's like they made this phone for one-handed people, for real. So, the Sony Xperia 10 for me, so far it's a win. I like it a lot, and I definitely could recommend it. The price tag is another thing. Some people might say it's on the high side. I would price this, probably at about $300. You know what I'm saying? That's about where I would cap it off at. But it will go on sale. I got it when it was $349, so it will go on sale later on down the line, like all phones do. This is the US model, by the way, and it should be coming out to you guys. Like, I don't know why I got my tracking number, and I was like, whoa, thanks. But nonetheless, the phone itself, man, is hot. I really like it, and it's doing me right so far. So 72 hours with this thing. I'm really loving the long display. Easy in the hand, man. Easy in the hand. I gotta find me a case for this thing though. It's your man Jay. Leave a comment down below, and I'm out.